Jimmy, if you would lead us in prayer.
Let us bow our heads, please. Heavenly Father, please be with us as we go about the business of the county. Please be with those that have business before this group today. Please be with our young men and women in foreign lands as they go about protecting us to allow us to have meetings such as this. In thy holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Commissioner Kendrick, if you would lead us in a pledge. All right, everybody had a chance to look at the agenda. Anything we need to add or delete?
Move for approval.
Have a motion to approve. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda is set. All right, informal comments. Well, excuse me. Today we have Local Government Day, and if we could get the students to stand so everybody can see what we generally try to do is go around the table here and introduce ourselves and tell us and try to tell you a little bit about ourselves. I'm chairman for this year. This is starting my fourth year on the commission, and glad to have everybody here. Ray?
My name is Ray Jeffers. I'm in my 8th year, second term on the Board of County Commissioners. I'm the youngest county commissioner, as I was elected at 25 when I first came on the board, and I'm still the youngest on the board.
Thank you.
Kind of hard for us not to catch you.
I'm Jimmy Clayton. I was elected in 2000. I'm the oldest county commissioner on the board. And I would like to stay on for one more term, so all of you that'll be 18 by November, I would appreciate your vote in the November election. I'm not on the ballot in March, but no, I want to say we're real glad to have the students here. I've seen lots of these. Years ago, they filled this auditorium full when they brought the students in here, and now they've cut it back to a group over there that they're concentrating on you all understanding what your local government does for you. And we handle a lot of things, and some of the others may go over some things that are handled here. The budgets for the sheriff department, social services, health department, all of your local budgets and things come through the Board of County Commissioners. So it's where your elected officials are closest to the people on the local level. So we're the group. And Ray Jeffers was sitting out in that audience probably one time when he came over here and I was on this board. So there's always a possibility that one of you all will be up here in the future.
You drove a school bus.
And I've said too much.
My name's Kyle Pereira. I've been on the board since 2006. This is my 10th year, my third term. I was in the audience when Jimmy Clayton was back there doing Local Government Day. I want to thank everyone for coming out today. It's certainly a special occasion. This is actually the only day where we have City Council, school, the Board of Education, and the Board of County Commissioners meet at the same time on the same day. So this is a rare treat, and I hope you take something away from it. We were given this sheet of paper of questions, and I'm just going to answer a couple of them real quick. Yeah, y'all can sit down. Yeah. You don't have to keep standing. The first question that was given was, what is the term of a Board of County Commissioner member? 4 years. Every commissioner is elected to a 4-year term. They're staggered terms. And unlike other counties, Person County is unique that they're all at-large positions. So no matter where you live in the county, you can, your county commissioner that you vote for is truly your county commissioner. You're not divided up into districts. I am not up for re-election this year. You have 3 commissioners up: David Newell, Chairman Newell, Commissioner Clayton and Commissioner Jeffers, and then in 2 years, Commissioner Kendrick and myself would be up for reelection. So that's how the process works. And so that kind of explains the 4-year term and the election process, countywide elections at large. So that's, and I'll leave the next questions to Commissioner Kendrick.
Good morning. I'm not the youngest, I'm not the oldest, but I am the newest board member who was elected in this past election cycle. I've been doing this about a year and a half now, enjoy it a whole lot. Look forward to working for 2 more years for the county, and we'll see how it goes at the end of this election cycle. But I've enjoyed the process, I enjoy government, I enjoy working for the people. There's a lot of time and effort put into getting ready for meetings, and if I'm going to answer one of the questions down here, how much does a member of the Board of Commissioners make, and it's not enough. It's $10,500 for the general board members, and I think it's a little bit more for the chairman. So by the time you put all your money and all your time into it, the money's not a relevant factor to make you want to do this job. Duties and responsibilities of the board, we're to go about the business of the county. There are a lot of things that, functions that go on, and we're basically a representative republic. So you guys elect us, and we come up here and we make decisions for you. And in that, we try to do the things that are best for the residents of the county. We help with tax rates. We help with issues that are planning and zoning related. We help with the senior center. That's one of the things that's been a hotbed item since I came on the board. There are other issues that have just recently came up. The landfill is one of the things that we'll be discussing at length. So basically, when we set up here, we're looking after your best interest and trying to do what's right for all the citizens of Person County. I'll answer one more of the questions, and then I'll leave the other ones to David. But where does the Board of Commissioners receive the money to plan for their budget? Commercial businesses and industry inside of Person County pay most of the taxes that allow us to do the business of county government. So you have GKN, Duke Energy, Eaton, different companies like that contribute the most money to our budget. And then the citizens of Person County paying their taxes takes care of the rest of the budget for us. So we do get some grant money that we typically have to add to get specific infrastructure type things done. So not only do we get tax money from inside the county, but we also get state and federal money in the form of grants a lot of times. Thank you.
All right. The main purpose of this board is to try to make the community progress. And sometimes it doesn't look that way, but at the end of the day, I think we finally get the job done one way or the other. But as long as we're moving forward, I think that's really all we can expect. Now, as far as the students, are there anybody that wants to address the board? You know, this board is probably more important than the president, because we have to decide if we have a landfill or not. We have to decide who lives next to you, how close they can live next to you, what kind of barriers you have to put between each other. And so, you know, as far as your day-to-day status, I think this board probably has more to do than anybody else, even at the state level. So it is in your best interest to learn what you can about this process, because it's going to be your responsibility in the future. We're filling the gap right now, but most cases, people don't get too much involved with local government until they need it, such as a zoning ordinance or such as that. And so when you do have to experience that process, you don't really know how it works. And for the most part, you get what you learn. And so it's in your best interest to learn as much as you can of the process and then participate if you can. Thank you. This part of the, sir? Oh, excuse me.
Sorry. Good morning. I'm Heidi York. I'm the county manager. I was appointed manager in 2008, so I do not have to run for election. I work at the pleasure of the 5 elected county commissioners. I'm tasked with overseeing the day-to-day operations of the county, so I get to work with the 400 employees that the county employs to provide services to all of you and your families. And that's pretty much it. I think that's all I wanted to say.
Good morning, my name is Brenda Reeves. I serve in 2 roles. The first role is I am the clerk to the Board of County Commissioners, so I am appointed, not elected, but appointed, and also work at the pleasure to this Board of County Commissioners. And I also serve as the executive administrative assistant to the county manager. So I work really closely with the board members and the county manager on a daily basis.
Okay. I think that takes care of everybody up here now. The next item is informal comments, and this is a 10-minute section that, plus or minus 10 minutes, that we try to let anybody in the county come and discuss anything they want to talk about. So if we will start with Pam Slade.
Good morning. My name is Pam Slade. I am a resident of Timberlake and a volunteer at the Person County Senior Center. My husband and I moved here from upstate New York in 2009 when we retired because our sons moved here for many opportunities and the good weather here in North Carolina. I foolishly thought that everyone would come over on Sunday, birthdays and holidays, and we would have lots of family dinners. Well, our children have families, demanding jobs and homes of their own to take care of. It soon became very clear that we had to make a place for ourselves in our adopted community. The Person County Senior Center was and is our saving grace. My husband and I started out going to the fitness center and met people who told us who to call when we need services and where to shop. My husband volunteered delivering Meals on Wheels, and I volunteered raising funds with the Friends of the Person County Senior Center. In 2011, my brother moved here to help me with my husband's medical issues. My sister and brother-in-law are currently looking for a house here because they are recently empty nesters in Nashville, Tennessee, and they want to relocate here to be near us. In case you're not counting, that's 5 new residents who are either seniors or soon will be. We are homeowners and taxpayers, as are thousands of long-term senior residents of Person County. The numbers speak for themselves. The senior population is large and a growing voting group, and we deserve a senior center that will grow with us. The trips, classes, and services offered by the senior center are an important part of our lives. When we moved here, I heard we were going to have a new senior center. That was 7 years ago. It is time to make good on that promise to the voters of Person County and to build a senior center that will continue to provide senior services and be a place that the community groups can use in the evenings and weekends for meetings and social gatherings. A building and grounds that support multiple functions will not only benefit the county's seniors, it can be a showcase downtown and keep our disposable income here where it belongs, in Person County. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Robert Allen.
Robert Allen, Person County senior citizen. I'm here to speak about any changes you might want to make to the proposed schematic for the new senior center. I want to go back to what Commissioner Newell said a moment ago, that the purpose of you guys is to look for progress in Person County. Any steps backward in changing the schematic of this would not be a step in progress. It would be a regressive step. So anything you consider, look at the long-range outcome of what your decision is going to be, because anything that's going to be less than what the seniors deserve in Person County, I think over the next 10 or 15 years would be a disservice to the entire county. So any changes you might want to make, just consider the fact that we are in the business of progress in Person County. And any step backwards, I believe, would be a step in the wrong direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan Naylor?
Good morning. I am Susan Naylor, and as all of you know, I am the heart and soul for our senior center. At the present time, the county is 21.8% population of seniors 60 and over. The baby boomers from 46 to 64 will increase our population to 24% by 2025. This is 9 years away. It's going to take 2 years for our new center, which means in 7 years, after our senior center is built, we're going to be pushing the walls again. And if you would just remember when you are talking about the design of the building, that you are not looking at the space right now. Right now, I was looking at our exercise roll the other day. We have 55 people that go to Huck Sansbury Monday through Friday. I don't know how many is over in the exercise room, but every time I go over there, it's full. So we are talking about at least 300 to 350 people, seniors, that use the center. We do not need a small building that by the time we have our opening ceremony and cut that ribbon, we are going to be busting at the seams. If you know that we're going to increase 3% by 2025, you need to take the money that you're going to spend and use it wisely and give us the space and the building that you and I can be very proud of. My goal in life is not to go to the rest home. My goal in life is to live to 100 and lead this exercise class. And I want to do that in a building that is adequate. I want a building that I can promote the seniors who move into this county. I can talk about our senior center, and I can talk about it with pride. Just in the past 3 months, we've had about 10 new members. We are having people moving into this area. And please don't have the attitude the seniors don't count. The seniors are a thorn in our side. We just want to be treated with respect. We want to be given the buildings. We do live here, we do pay taxes here, we do spend our money here, and we would appreciate a nice facility that is adequate and is large enough for expansion. Thank you.
Thank you. Claiborne Tuck. Morning, sir.
I'm here to also speak about the size of the senior center. I belong to Bridge Club, which is a small portion of this, but on Mondays we have 40 to 50 people every Monday that we're now meeting in the basement at the church because we don't have room where we are. On Thursdays we play at the senior center, and you've got bridge tables here, you got puzzles here, everybody on top of each other, which everybody puts up with this because we know the problem that we've had. The prior speakers have addressed everything well with the size. I'm saying that I don't understand why I hear about cutting, and I understand the cost, but somewhere along the line, you got to think, the lady said 3% increase. We need to do something that we can keep people where they have a place to come. I can remember they had where we played bridge, and they had to exercise in the same place, and it was a steady stream all the time. Now you got people, running to different places. So I'd appreciate anything that you or any other commissioner would give some consideration to this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The chair recognizes Betty Blaylock, who will also represent Francis Blaylock.
Okay. As you can see, I'm not Frances Blaylock, but I'm reading this at her request. She had a major catastrophe last evening and called me to see if I could do this for her. So I'm just pretend I'm her. I'm not as thin as she is, but anyway, she's a wonderful person, and I'm not kin to her, but we're related by marriage, if you want to call it that, and we did go to high school together. I am Frances Blaylock, Person County, land of trash and coal ash, retired school teacher, former commissioner and co-chair of PC Pride, born and raised in Person County. Many politicians only care about themselves, not their constituents. 3 of these commissioners have closed minds and ears. I have spoken to them over and over, but they haven't heard a word I've said. So I turn to you students. How many of you do your own homework? Now, she was a school teacher, remember? I have always done mine and am still doing it. Our commissioners are spending approximately $70,000 of your tax money to get someone to do their homework. Our environmental group took the same outline and did the homework for free. Smith Gardner took our research, used it, and then gave us a failing grade. 3 commissioners took their recommendation and voted to pursue a new franchise agreement with Republic Services, LLC. After that, one of these commissioners even had the nerve to ask one of our people for more information. What does their decision do to you, students? When companies hear about this, the only economic development that will happen in space being sold for garbage, no jobs, just space of our county, which homes can't be built on ever. Homes can never be built on them. This will allow Republic to bring in garbage from all over Virginia and for more than 35 years. People living in that area can tell you what this does to their air, water, and health. She lives at Timberlake, by the way. One of the worst things is that it allows Duke Energy to broker another deal to dump millions of tons of coal ash in the landfill. They did it before, and they'll do it again. Now we need for you to stand up and help us fight for your future. Go home and Google coal ash, Uniontown in Perry County, Alabama. Do it and come armed with knowledge to dispute arguments for trash and coal ash. Person County is the epicenter of coal ash in North Carolina. It has over 41 million tons, according to an environmentalist. He said we have more than all the other counties in the state put together. Tell DEQ to have Duke clean up our ash ponds and put it on their own property in a protected facility. We don't want mountains blowing in the wind, polluting our air, and we've proven to you how they don't wet it down unless Diener's coming. Oh, excuse me, DEQ, I guess you are now. Tell these commissioners they are Person County people before they're Republicans or Democrats. They should listen to the needs of all the citizens, not the desires of a political party. Now, I ask you this question, students. How many of you will stay in Person County if we lose 1/3 of it to coal ash and trash? I will tell Frances that you clap for her, okay? Now, I'm not going to read this book. This was the medical book I cut my teeth on in the 60s. And what I'm talking about also is your recent vote to broker or to negotiate with what some have called the devil. Are you doing it for personal gain? To endear you to, this is from me, I'm Betty Blaylock, and I live at Rougemont, but not in Durham County, okay? I live right next to the landfill. Now, if living with the devil, where's the devil's home? As I heard yesterday in church, preacher preached on hell. The devil's home is hell. Now, I'm tired. I'm a senior citizen too. Unfortunately, I don't have the time to come to the senior center because I'm fighting for your air, your land, and your water. And I don't get a dime for it, okay? And I don't have much pleasure doing it lately. But anyway, I'm tired of this county's so-called leaders bringing hell to my part of the county. And that's what they're doing. Now, I thank God I have a place in heaven that I won't have to do it after I die. And I know some of you, again I'll say, are hoping that I will. If the state of North Carolina and the leaders of this county don't want to protect us, and we know 3 of our commissioners don't care, then it is up to the voters to get you out. Now, cancer, you've denied that. And by the way, press, if you want to print that article again where somebody way off in Georgia said that we didn't have a lot of cancer, let me just give you a new report where I told you on that road east of that landfill where so many are laden with cancer and have died. We had 1 more to die last week. We had another 40-some-year-old, big tumor taken out, lives right down there. I mean, I could go on and on that road. And so, you know what? There's thallium in the groundwater. That's in the state records. And let me tell you what thallium does. Thallium, this is a medical dictionary. Okay, it's printed in 1930-something, reprinted in 1960-something. They were going to toss it in the trash, so when I retired, I took it home, okay? Thallium. Its salts are active poisons. When I called Dina, at that time Dina, back in 2008, they came. She called me on the phone. She said there is thallium in the groundwater. And it doesn't occur, it's not natural, okay? There's thallium in the groundwater, it's a metal. And it is highly toxic. There is arsenic in the groundwater. That's in your county records of 3 residents down there. Go look it up. So our prayer is that that's what you will look at. That's what you will look at. Not dollars.
Is there any change?
Move for approval.
Have a motion to approve. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? So be it. All right. Sybil, if y'all would update us on the recycling center.
Good morning, Commissioners. For this item, we are asking you to give staff direction on allocating surplus funds. Sorry. Okay. Maybe. Okay, well, hope you can hear me. On how to allocate surplus funds from the financing that you approved in your fiscal year 16 CIP. If you'll recall, you asked our finance director to finance $2.36 million. That money was for roofing and also for purchasing and making improvements to the recycling center. The good news is that the roofing projects have come in under budget. They are complete, and there is an additional $398,000. For the recycling center, we obviously have purchased the facility, and those projects are underway. We have about $177,000 remaining to continue making those improvements. So again, our request this morning is, as you can see from the abstract, we have lots of potential projects at the MRF, at the recycling center, that we could use the funding for, but we are here asking your input on how we should allocate that $398,000.
I also just wanted to clarify one additional piece of information that had changed. I think when we initially financed this, we wanted to bring the recycling center up to code. And so the 4 items listed in that little chart are do have to do with the code requirements, but the building inspector had found out that he does not have to enforce the code until a major renovation is done to the interior of the building. So that's a little bit different information than we initially thought. If at some point we decide to merge PI and the recycling center, then you would need to make all of the code requirements at that point in time. So the timing may be a little bit different than what we had initially talked about with that additional information, and I wanted to make sure you knew that.
But from a liability standpoint, we still,
The liability is still there for not having a sprinkling system, but it is not a code violation until renovations have begun on the interior.
all right. Could we get Sam up here? We've got a couple of questions we need. Don't go anywhere. Sam, if you could break down the exact process or details as far as what's required from the sprinkler and what's, it's a little confusing that we don't have to meet that code until you have a change of use, which the whole purpose in my mind for a sprinkler system is strictly liability anyway, so.
Right. The building was built in 1974. Inspection department wasn't required until 1983, so quite naturally, that building was built without any types of inspection. And since 1974, it has not changed use as far as a type of factory. So as far as the occupancy classification, it has not changed use, which pretty much grandfathers since its existence. I talked to DOI, they said any renovation would trigger bringing the building up to code then. Any remodels, alterations, anything major. So, I guess joining or looking at joining PI over there or any type of renovations to the building would trigger then having to do sprinkler system.
All right, now, what degree of sprinkler would we have to put in there?
What degree?
Well, I mean, you've got, I guess sprinklers are determined based on what you're going to do with it, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean,
as far as the sprinkler capacity and that type of
I
thing.
mean, you would have to base it off the 2012 code then and whatever NFPA requirements are.
Is that a square footage or usage code?
It's a square footage and a usage. Your square footage is anything over 12,000 square feet, a fire area bigger than 12,000 square feet. And this building is 50,000 roughly.
Yeah.
The only other option would be to put partition walls in between and make it less than 12,000 square feet.
And we did look at doing that as a potential option, but
You
it was
talking
more
about firewall?
costly.
It would need to be a 1-hour firewall and dividing it into 12,000 square feet. Pretty much you separating the building into 12,000 square feet
Right.
each.
Which doesn't exactly work for the layout of the recycling center. But we did look at that and had a cost for that as well.
I think that was,
Well,
in that feasibility study, I think it was 75,000.
The projected cost down here, if we merge PI to 758, that does not include these renovations, is that correct?
That's in addition to the 500.
Right.
The connected city water lines, I saw the note going around the other day about the existing water line is not large enough to support a sprinkler system of this size.
They did a flow test on it, and it's not enough flow there to provide if, say, something triggered for the sprinkler system to work. So I think they have looked into combining two lines to hopefully get the flow up where it would accommodate that. And of course, I think the next alternative would be to have a tank on site.
Right.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say, is there a way that we could have a tank and a well, possibly use a citron or something like that to take the water off the roof and the downspouts to a specific place and then go for a pump from there?
The tank pump system that the sprinkler contractor quoted really increases the price about $400,000. Now, I'm not going to, we haven't picked it apart to see if there's any way to reduce it, but in general, if you just go in with a sprinkler system, we're looking at a little less than $200,000. But if you have to put an exterior tank, put it on a pad, put a pump system there to facilitate it, it adds about $400,000 to the price.
But if we increase the size of the city water line coming in, they have a formula that they come up with a monthly fee whether you're using that water or not, correct?
I've heard that, I don't know specifics.
So if you've got a 50,000 square foot building and you're only using the amount of water for 8,000 square feet, they're still going to charge you for the
capacity.
anticipated capacity for the 50,000 square feet, because they have to be made whole for having it readily available, correct?
I think the city does charge something.
So
monthly.
what does that cost every month versus paying for the citron and the pump now? Over a 20-year life cycle, I think we need to look at that, because you're going to pay X amount of dollars for the citron and the pump now, and that's really your only cost other than maintenance. But if we put the line in that'll support it, it may be a difference of $1,000 a month, and over 20 years it would. And the reason I say this, in one of our meetings, we were talking to several people who were interested in warehouse space, but one of the prohibiting factors was the monthly water bill that typically was not really needed for their business, but it was the tap fee that was there for them to have it available if they ever needed it.
And certainly we can look at that, but let me clarify a point that right now there are two 6-inch lines that come from either end of the property and dead end on our property. All we look at this point with the city is, okay, what would it take to connect those two lines together to make a continuous loop? That would give us adequate water for the sprinkler system, but if you need more pressure or more water than that would supply, you may have to go all the way back to Leesburg Road and pull a new line completely to get the water supply that I think you're referring to. Still, the cost may not be prohibitive comparative to the other, but right now the $30,000 to $40,000 is just to connect the two 6-inch lines at dead end on our property.
Would that water flow suffice the requirements of that recycling center?
The water flow,
I know he had to test.
we had
test on it.
engineers, Summit Engineering came in and checked it and basically, I guess, prorated the system out after they had checked. So we would, once we connect the two 6-inch lines together, we would get 750 gallons per minute, which is enough to do the sprinkler, enough to do the building as planned, but it's on the low side, it's on the marginal end. They would love you to have twice that much, like 1,500 gallons a minute, but we're nowhere near that with the available lines that we have right now.
If we put a split system in and put 6 inches just to the sprinkler system and the other 6-inch line to feed daily brown water use or whatever, would it suffice that way, or did we look at it?
Didn't look at it, and let me, I guess, make a comment which may have been a given, but the system we're looking at is a dry sprinkler system, so that there'll be no water in the building, because obviously there's no plans to heat that building, so a wet system is quite a bit cheaper, but a dry system is what we have to have given that situation out there.
Is water going to be adequate for the materials that they use out there?
Well, there's some give and take, even, all right, right now we can get 750 gallons a minute if we tie the two lines together. But even at that 750 gallons a minute, the fire code says you can only stack plastics 5 foot high. Well, as much plastic as they have in there, there's no way that they could do that. They just don't have the space. So that's what preempted the third item on here, add metal building on the pad out back for $185,000, because in order to get the building sprinklered with the existing water, we have to add that building out back to for storage of the plastics out there. So it's kind of a domino effect. We've got to add a water line in, then in order to have sufficient water, even with that water line, we've got to add a building out there. because the flow is only 750 gallons a minute.
So the materials that they're collecting, they have to be in an enclosed building, not
City
like...
code, again, everything we ran into kind of ran into another obstacle. We talked about, we just put a top on the building. Well, city code says that you've got to enclose it all four sides, and Sam, you can, I guess, speak to that if you wish, but you can't just put a top on it and store under it. You've got to have it closed in by code.
That's actually the city ordinance. That's really not a code, it's just a city ordinance that regulates.
Have they ever
it.
waived that, or have we found anywhere else where they're not required that?
I haven't seen where they've waived it.
They'd have to go to Board of Adjustments with it.
Probably so.
That's not as long as. All right,
On any of these projects here, the improvement projects, if you only do some and not the others, do any of them trigger that's a renovation, so you have to do all? Or
I'm not sure what's on the list,
For
but
example, if you put the restroom, renovate the interior restrooms, or put in ADA parking, sidewalks, handicap ramps, would
yeah,
that?
that
I
triggers
think that
everything
would
else.
trigger, yeah.
what's the pleasure of the board? Do we know enough to make a decision?
I'd like to know for sure, I know we got the 750 gallons per minute, before we decide to spend the county's money on something, figure out if that's gonna be adequate for now and the future. I don't wanna put something in there that's just meeting minimum standards at this time, and then 5 years down the road have to turn around and spend more money because it's not adequate for what may be going forward from then. So I'd like some hard numbers on what we can do and what we can't do before we start the process. We're looking at $558,000 in the improvement projects, not even getting down to merging PI and PRC up there. So, and from what I'm hearing, if we renovate the restrooms or do any of those smaller things, it's going to trigger the sprinkler system and connecting a water line. So I'd like to know for sure that we can get by with the proposed 2 6-inch lines, what the exact cost is on that, and before I would make a recommendation on it.
Can we move forward and have Ray and them check what you're talking about? Because what you're talking about only affects the sprinkler system and the connected to water lines.
That's right.
And if what you're discussing would be cheaper than the 240,000, which are those two combined, then halt that, bring that back to us, and then that way we can prove that, but would you still move forward with everything else today?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
And as that a stipulation? You get what I'm saying?
Chairman, could I add just another point of, if we put in the sprinkler system as spec'd out right now, it's 750 gallons a minute, would mean criteria would have to get plastics out of the building in order to do it. And two, that sprinkler system would probably not be adequate if you ever come back at a later date and merge PI together, because, and we couldn't really figure that in, because right now, the merge of PI is unknown. I mean, if once we spec it out and say, okay, I want this footprint in the building, then I could probably go to the fire code guys, the fire contractors, and say, okay, I need to build a water system big enough to incorporate both. But the numbers that you're looking at now, the price we're looking at right now, does not include an addition of PI merger.
So
It's
in the
buying
merger,
Chevrolet, not the Mercedes.
in the merger figure, is that difference calculated there?
No, to my knowledge, it is not. You're not adding anything in there for additional sprinkler.
All right, can we table this and ask them to come back with a full game plan?
Well, I wanted to move forward with the stipulation that Tracy put in, let them check that first, and if it came out cheaper than the 240,000, then, that's a viable option. But if not, I think we need to move forward, because you got some we've got people in that building, and we don't have emergency and exit signs and lighting, and I'm particularly concerned about the ADA parking, sidewalk, and handicap accessibility. I know that triggers everything else, but, I mean, that's a big issue. For me alone, just the liability, as you mentioned earlier, without having the exit signs, the lighting, the sprinkler system, and the ADA parking, sidewalk, and handicap accessibility. I mean,
Well, I
that
think
concerns
it's
me.
prudent on our part to take care of the liability part of it. Also, most of what we're talking about is not so much an expense as it is an investment in the building we've already bought. So we are not really wasting money, so to speak. We're just upgrading a piece of property that we already own.
So you understand, Ray, what?
I was going to ask Commissioner Kendrick, would you repeat what you would like me to do, please?
I'd love to, but I don't know if I can. I'd like to verify that we can utilize the existing connect to the city. I'd also like to see what the cost is per month on the water bill with the city versus what your projected cost was for the cistern, the tank, and the pump. And just hearing what you just said about it won't be adequate if we ever merge, or possibly not adequate once we merge, I'd like to look at what the sprinkler system would cost if we retrofit it out for the PI-PRC merge. Because it's, like I said, I don't want to put something in there in 5 years down the road because I understand that the building that we're on Madison Boulevard, the lease is up in 9 years. And so if we do something that's not adequate now, within a 9-year period of time, we may be back doing it again. So I'd like to see what the cost is for getting it upfitted to the price of merging the two.
So I would offer a motion to move for approval, given that stipulation where you come back with that information, because you don't have to do the sprinkler and all that stuff first. And you can bring that back to us. But we need to go ahead and get started on this. It's my motion, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we got a motion on the floor. Is there any more discussion?
All right.
Go ahead. That thought just flew out my ears, so I forgot what I was going to
So you done?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Go to work. All right. Resolution authorizing sale of an insignificant portion of person property.
Commissioners, for this item, we are asking that you sign a resolution to sell a tiny sliver of Mount Tirzah Park. Let me give you a little background about this particular situation. The property owner who owns property just adjacent to Mount Tirzah Park wanted to install a modular home on his property, and so he went through the permitting process, and the planning department asked that he come up with a solution to have a permanent access to his property. Currently, for quite some time, he and his family have been accessing his property via county property. They have to drive over a tiny sliver of county property to get to their home. And it's uncertain how long this has been going on, but it's likely that he probably has adverse possession of this property anyway. So Mr. Bradsher approached the county with some possible solutions, and his preferred solution was that the county sell him this tiny sliver of Mount Tirzah Park. And his attorney and the county attorney have been in touch, and this is the resolution that you see before you is his preferred solution, and it's to sell this tiny sliver of Mount Tirzah Park to Mr. Bradsher for exactly $100. And so again, we're asking that the board adopt this resolution and sell this property to Mr. Bradsher.
Move for approval.
Got a motion to approve the resolution. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Now, item number 4, consideration to change the location of June 6, 2016 regular scheduled board meeting to accommodate, to June the 7th, to accommodate the primary election. Have a motion to approve, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Person County Senior Center, schematic design. Heidi, if you enlighten us on that.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. We have HH Architecture here, who is the county's contracted designer for the senior center. And they, back in February, as you remember, conducted a public input session to gain some feedback into the design of the senior center. So they have prepared for you today some site plans, floor plan, exterior view, and also some cost estimates, all based on incorporating the feedback that they got at the public input session. So Kristen Hess is here with us this morning, and she's going to walk you through all of the items that I've mentioned and also talk with you about the cost estimates and what we're looking at this point. They also have prepared some options for your consideration on the green space that was the former hotel space as well. So Kristen, if you'll come on up, she has a PowerPoint, and I'm going to send hard copies of the slides around so you don't have to turn and look behind you. And in your packet are some other schematic designs as well as the cost estimates.
Good morning. I am Kristen Hess with HH Architecture, and I brought with me today Eric Davis of Surface 678, the landscape architect, so if there's any site questions, because this is a big site project too, just as much as a building project, so he's here to answer any questions you might have as well. We are excited. Our public meeting was very well attended. It was right here in this room. It was a full house. About 40 people. It was on February the 8th at 5 p.m., and we got a lot of wonderful comments. And we left the comment period open for another 10 days for people who couldn't attend the meeting, just to be sure that we captured everything. And by and large, I would say that your seniors are very educated and very active and very excited about this, as you already know. So we were thrilled to get the feedback that we received. The schematic design packet is the first of 3 design phases. We do a schematic design, we do a design development, and we do a construction documents. At each of those points, we look at the budget, we look at the design, and try to make decisions before we get too far along. So I'll just go through this presentation with you. Again, this is the team, HH, Stanford White, Stroud Pence, Surface 678, and Mulkey. So not everybody from the design team is here today, but there are a lot of engineers working on this project along with us. This is the original charge to demolish the existing building on the existing site and construct a new 12,000 square foot senior center on the same site and develop a public park up on Depot Street. And back when we started, we didn't have a survey, we didn't have a whole lot of information. We have since gotten a survey, we've since met with the city, we've since done a lot more investigation, so we have some new information there as well. The schedule, we are still on schedule. We had our first public meeting in February. As we said, we'll have a second public meeting theoretically in April was our plan. We're designing through the course of this year and constructing next year. This site plan is hard to read on the screen, and I hope that you all have received a copy in advance. I think you did. I have a larger printout if anyone would like to look at it. You got it in your, okay, great. Everybody's got their iPads, awesome. If you want to come up, Eric, and just talk a little bit about some of the highlights of the site.
I'd be glad to. Again, my name is Eric Davis. I'm a landscape architect with Surface. We are in charge of what goes on outside the building. So we're working closely with Mulkey engineers. They'll be doing water, sewer, stormwater, and we'll be working with HH to merge the two together. So as you might be familiar with, there's just a beautiful willow oak in front of the existing building. So we would encourage you to save that oak and build a walkway that goes to two entrances along the building on that side of the parking area. The entrances, one would be the main covered entrance for day-to-day use. The entrance more to the south, should have brought my pointer, there would allow for opportunities into the Meals for Wheels kitchen as well. And as you know, and as we're beginning to learn more about the site has about 8 to 10 feet of grade change. So what that means is I'm 6 feet, so another 2 feet from one site to the other side of the site is how much the ground's going to change. And that's going to affect the ability for you and I to get around, whether it's stairs, ramps, handrails, and so forth. But we think that's an important consideration to think about. So what we've done...
How much slope is that?
About 8 feet.
8 feet,
So
okay.
I'm 6'2", average guy, so another 2 feet above me. So here you can see the corner right there, I feel really drops off. So you can see the grade. We've actually pushed the grade down a little bit in this corner right here. We're placing the building about the same elevation that you see today, which is around 711 plus or minus. And as we get down in this corner, we're right about 705, 703, 702. So it's probably a little more detail, but I'd be glad to answer questions about that. Talking to the mic, there we go.
Okay.
Well, just so that they can record it.
Okay, my kids tell me I have a strong voice, but I'll use the mic as well. So we have,
You can take it loose there and keep from, so you won't have backache when you get
You
through.
can take the mic off if you want to hold it.
Just take it off. Pull it.
there we go. Is that okay? Right here? I'm sorry. So we had two entrances to the building. We provide for a walkway that is a sloped walk that comes out to a terrace that opens up as this portion of the building is currently a door location here. We also are having a door location as this side as well. It's plus or minus 15 to 20 feet wide, which we think is perfect. And if you notice, the sun along that edge is sort of south-southwest. So on the colder days, the winter days, you can actually still gain solar access to that. But in the spring and fall, which we all know is the best time in Carolina and the winters, is get outside and get on that terrace and exercise. You can actually have some planters out there as well. And we provide a ramp down this edge here. And what we've done there is given you an opportunity for a flat lawn space. It's there for you to provide your programs for. Right now, we're showing some horseshoe pits in that area, but again, it's an open lawn, flat, for you to begin the program. We've got access to parking. Handicap parking is located here off the covered walk. We have a walkway that goes around this edge as well, and there's additional parking along this side too. And we have access to, and we'll talk about the park site, which is located on this side of the site over here. Water and sewer will be connected up to the building, and we have stormwater that we have to protect along this edge as well. So you'll see some drains in the plans as well that will capture surface runoff. We'll put it back in the stand.
Okay, thanks, Eric. Questions about the site?
Yes.
Okay.
Where the existing building is, you going to fill that in and bring it up to grade?
That's the goal of what we'd like to do. We've run some quick numbers, and we're finding that fill is the more inexpensive option versus building actual structural walls. So a slab on grade as opposed to structural walls holding up that back side of the site is the preferred direction.
All right, now, having been under that building, you've got a lot of grade, a lot of fill to put in there.
That is correct.
Okay. What is keeping in mind that...
Talking to the mic.
Huh?
Talking to the mic.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now? Okay. Looking to the future, would it be advantageous for us to, instead of filling that in, make a basement out of it?
There's a couple ways to look at that. Yes, if you want to have a future occupiable space, you can certainly make a basement. It's much more expensive than filling it in, but it's usable space, so it gains you something. It's not, nothing. I looked at, the entire design team together looked at, if it's just a mechanical basement, it's going to add about $250,000 to the budget that I showed you. if you want it to be like a basement that has windows and is going to be occupied in the future, it would add about $1 million.
You don't know if you're going to hit rock, do you?
Don't have, I think we're getting geotech right
rock
now.
squirrel.
So we're just getting some geotech reports and borings under that building right now. So we don't know the answer to that yet. That's a good thought, though. Although, I mean,
So that gives you a whole.
there's a lower level there now, and then there's a sub-lower level. So there's quite a bit of space that we're filling in. I mean, it's not quite 2 stories. They're short, they're not full height spaces, but.
But you talking about $1 million?
$1 million.
The filling in costs what?
The filling in is already in the budget, so I don't have that pulled apart.
Okay.
So sorry about that, but so if you look at the budget that I shared with you, that.
Well, you got $250,000 of grade in there.
That's correct. That is correct.
Earthwork, $282,000.
Yes. So that's the biggest number there.
All right.
Now, you-
That $1 million, would that be a clear span?
It could be, sure. Because we're
At
not
that price,
doing,
I
I
would
don't think
hope
we're
so.
doing internal columns on the upper level, so yeah.
But that would, how much, that would almost double your space.
It would completely double your space.
Well, now, you wouldn't be going under the new part.
Yes.
You basically got 6,000 of the old building, and 6,000 is going to be basically on grade of existing grade.
That's
So
true.
you're going to wind up with 6,000 square feet under the existing old structure. And one of my requests when you started this was to make sure that it was expandable.
Yes.
And just talking out loud, I can see where a swimming pool of some sort, which has been talked about forever, could very easily be put on that next grade.
Yes.
And so that lends itself to be very usable space. And if you just roughed it in, if you just graded it, just left it gravel for whatever reason. I mean, concrete's expensive. But from looking at your thing, you were gonna put a precast wall on this outside anyway, weren't you?
If we're going to fill, where we're going to fill, we're going to have walls. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Explain what you're saying about the added 6,000 square feet now.
Well, I've been under the old building, and there's quite a bit of space under there. Now, the land seems to slope fairly well, like he's talking about. You got about 8 to 10 feet, depending on if you take it down a little bit more. If you were to grade that down level and make a basement. Make a
With the
basement
current
out of it, then you've already created expansion for future use. Now, the only thing that you would probably have to do going forward is to put an elevator in there to make it ADA accessible. But other than that, all I'm trying to do is utilize space we've got. If you fill it in, you've got, you taking that option away. I just foresee it being maybe dressing rooms or whatever for another facility that I think we all agree will eventually happen here. So I'm just trying to maximize the space that we got. And even if the swimming pool never comes to pass, you still got future expansion for them. So if you just built a structural wall here and clear span that basement area 6,000 feet, you still talking about $1 million?
No, it would be a little less, because the million was for the full floor plan, the full 12,000.
Okay.
And I don't know that it would be half exactly, though, because the elevator and the stairs,
Well, you could put the elevator on the outside.
you can.
Make a
You
glass
can.
elevator, let them look at the street while they
Oh,
go
now
up.
that'll be more expensive, don't do that. But you would want to do, And one thing we'd have to talk about is, do you want to do the elevator and stairs now, or you just want to plan for them in the future? Because if we do put them in, that'll add cost right now that then you don't really need.
Well, I don't know that we need to do that. All I'm trying to do is potentially utilize another 6,000 square feet that could be very usable in the
Okay.
future. And all I'm talking about basically now is, if possible, just clear span it and just leave it rough. Now, if you wanted to put some equipment down there, that would be fine, but the roof
So-
could probably accommodate it too.
That's true.
I get what you're saying with the, but we only get 6,000 square feet, but you're saying for $1 million, if we put a basement under the new construction, we get a whole additional 12,000 square feet.
Correct. Correct. Because we're tearing the old out, and I think your point is that the grade change is greatest where the old building is.
Yeah.
As you move down the site, there's less.
Yeah, I mean, you're pretty much on grade for the existing,
But
for the
there's- yeah,
addition.
There's less unknown with rock and,
Yeah.
right. But,
I
And
mean,
I
it's
could
just
get you a
6,000
quote.
square feet there that you could capture real easy.
sure, I could get you a number, I mean, it may be, 700,000 or 600, I don't know what it'll be. It may not be exactly half, though, because I think that there's not an economy of scale to go directly half.
Well, if you
But-
just rough it in,
Yeah.
I mean, you can always go back and finish
Finish
it.
it out later.
Because you don't really know what to finish it for at the moment.
That's correct. That's true.
I'd like to see that number.
Okay, I can get you
know what
that.
I'm saying? I like the idea, what he said about getting a whole additional 12,000 square feet, but I don't want to spend 700,000 for 6,000 square feet.
Well, this
If we can
this
get
right here
12
would
for
be
me.
easy to capture pretty easy. I mean, all you basically talking about is grading it down, unless you run into rock.
Right.
Now, you are talking about probably a substantial structural wall on the outside there, because it's going to carry the whole building.
That's true.
But, they make those every day, so it's, I don't know that wall is going to be that much more than your retaining wall that you're going to have.
Probably not.
So, if that's the case, then the grading out there and the steel to span it is your difference. I don't see where that's $1 million, though. I'd like to see the blueprint on that one.
Okay, I can get you some detail on the
Okay.
cost.
You have, I was looking at your numbers in
Yes.
here, and you've got for structure, go back, for exterior envelope, $9 a square foot, for structure, $34 a square foot. You don't have to worry about roofing, which is $12 per square foot. But just using exterior envelope and structure, you're at $43 a square foot for 6,000 square feet. That's using easy numbers. $50 a square foot times 6,000 square feet, you're only at $300,000
Yeah.
versus
That
$750,000 that you were saying.
Well, there's a lot of multipliers that, like there's going to be other things at the bottom that are going to contribute to that number. The structural engineer would want more design fee to design another level.
So what would your...
But that's not going to take all of it or anything. But I mean, there's just going to be some additional
looking-
mechanical, electrical, plumbing for down there to keep it from getting damp. You
So
don't want to have to
somewhere around
condition it.
$100, $125 a square foot.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, what you're going to wind up with is an area about the size of this room right here. So, I think I'm more in line with his idea there. $1 million is outrageous. I mean, I don't see that.
Sure.
Even-
And that was the whole thing, so.
I would think it would be half or less, if you just rough it in. I mean, you don't have to finish it now.
Okay, I'm on.
You can certainly give us a cost for a concrete slab, but
Yeah.
sometimes that's not a good idea until you know where your pipes are going.
That's true.
So if the use of it changes from just pure recreation to a dressing room for a swimming pool, you don't have to dig the floor back up.
Yeah, you don't want to cut that floor back up, that's right. So no slab, rough in only, 6,000 square feet.
Well,
I was just going off what you're saying, it's not going to be half. Why spend $700,000 for 6,000 square feet when you can put a basement under the new construction and get an entire 12,000 square feet? That was my
Well,
only thing.
the one thing to put a basement under the other 6,000, you've got to take all that dirt out, because it's on grade right now. All I'm looking at is a hole in the ground that we're gonna fill up.
Take that dirt, fill in the old hole. No.
Well, put it where?
In the basement, the old building.
Well-
Fill it in with the dirt we got to move.
All I just see is potential to capture some space. It shouldn't be that expensive.
Yeah, I don't mind seeing, I mean, I agree with him, we can get added space. I mean, since we've been dealing with this, I've been given this number, and I'll mention it since we had several mentioned today about our added senior growth, but from our own county health assessment report done by our county health department in 2014, it tells you that the median age in the county is 41.4 years old, 4 years older than the population of North Carolina as a whole. The population of citizens over the age of 65 in Person County is projected to grow by 62% by 2030. We're talking 14 years, so I don't want to build a building that we're already busting in the seams, and then 14 years later, or really probably less than that, we'll be doing the same thing. So I think if we can do anything to maybe see if we can get more square footage, I'm happy with that, but I also want to handle the business that's at hand today, which we know what was given to us was about $220,000 over what we proposed. And the only thing I had asked about that was the 3% contingency. Was that enough? Or do we need more?
Well, the county has told me that in the past experience up here, that has not been enough, and it would be recommended to go up to about 10%.
10%?
Yeah.
So
that would add another
3.2.
200,000 probably. We had, hopefully everyone understood that the schematic design column included everything that was designed on the sheets, and then I was concerned because you all had given me very firm direction to stay under 2.8, and I wasn't able to get there, but I was trying to get there, so I was just trying to cut, but unfortunately it was cutting.
But I think we did that in a preliminary state until we got to hear the public meetings, to hear the needs of the community. So I'm fine with the 3.2 or increasing it so we can keep the square footage that we need, because if we start cutting here what you have, then we're decreasing our square footage and we're putting them in a building that they have already outgrown. And so I would like to see us do what was presented to us today, investigate on what you're discussing on the added 6,000 square feet with the current basement and up to contingency.
All right, the one thing that I think everybody, I don't know if they realize or not, but you can certainly speak to it. What we're going to be getting is a 12,000 square foot clear span building, meaning no walls in the place. All right, the facility that you're in down there now is all chopped up. The old building that we had was 10,000 square feet, but after you take into consideration how well it was chopped up and whatnot, you really only had about 5,000 square feet of usable space. Because you were walking in one room into another, but in this situation, my reason for making this statement is you can't compare the 10,000 that you had to the 10,000 you're going to get. You're going to get probably 30% more usable space in this building than what you had. Am I right?
Well, the last building was definitely chopped up, and there were definitely columns, but I think they had more than 5 or 6.
Well, whatever the percentage. All I'm saying is you have potential here for getting more utilization out of this town, 10,000 square feet than you do.
Yes,
Than what you had.
We've tried to design it just based on public input and staff input to make it as user-friendly as possible.
Okay, now, are those walls going to be movable?
Well, there's sheetrock walls for most of them, and then we have one movable partition in the large multi-purpose room, so it can be subdivided, meals and programs or pickleball and this or whatever.
Well, I mean, if you had sliding partitions, it would make you a lot more flexible. That's all I'm trying to do, is build some flexibility there.
Sure, we could add another flexible partition between the two, like the art classroom and the classroom or the computer lab if you want. Sometimes people complain about those walls because they break over time and they don't give you much sound barrier.
Well-
So those types of walls there can be trade-offs for them. But you're right, they're flexible, but sometimes people never move them because they're a pain in the neck.
So I saw in the schematic that they can get in the, let me see what you call it on here, the, what does it say, oh, social hall. They can get maybe 50 people in there for meals, and then without the partition, and that's another 385 square feet, so you pretty much roughly add another 25 to 30
Yes.
with that.
It's a nice big room.
All right, we got a motion on the floor. Is there any more discussion?
Well, I'll make it. I hadn't made it yet, but I will make it.
I thought you did.
That's my motion to, we're asking for to approve this schematic. Do we need discussion on, are we adding more to the contingency? More than this 3%?
You make the motion, we vote on it.
And we said with, when we met with you, Heidi, and Ray, it's normally 10%?
It's normally 10% on construction. We did, I think, 5% on our roofing projects.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve the schematic as presented to us, adding another 7% to our construction contingency fund.
Is that the proposed cost or the schematic design cost?
The schematic design cost of 3.2.
Any discussion? All right, now, increasing the contingency, since we're writing the checks, is that all that important? I mean, how, does that?
We just
does
wanted-
that- What I'm getting at is that we're gonna raise of course, the whole project, what you get is based on the cost of the project, I suppose.
Well, I'm under a lump sum agreement right now that doesn't change. The only thing that I'll come back and ask an amendment for is if we change the scope. Like if you decide to do the basement, then I'll come back and ask for additional fees specifically to that. But if you don't do that, then I wouldn't. I mean, it's not like one of these things where at the end of the job, I'm coming back with my hand out. It's specific to the work that we have to do. So if the scope changes, we ask for additional fees, but if the project just comes in over or under, there's no change to our fees.
Okay.
Well, we were
Well,
just
this-
asking to bring the contingency in line so you had a better real dollar figure for what this project may actually end up
So you-
costing.
You're basically designating money as opposed to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you have to spend it. It doesn't mean that I.
Right, you may not need it,
information.
but past history tells us that's a relevant amount to put.
All right, we got a motion on the floor. Is anybody got anything else they want to add? If not, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, go to work.
Thank you. Chairman, would you like me to come back to?
Please, yes, All right. That takes care of item number 5. Chairman's report. I attended a economic development meeting with Stewart last Tuesday in Pinehurst, and we met with the Secretary of Commerce and the people of Duke Power and quite a few people. We brought everybody up to speed on Project Trace, and the Secretary was very helpful on ideas and guidance, and we've got a few things that we need to take care of through the EDC and the PCBIC and get that site moving to a conclusion so that we can actually have something to go to market with. And that will be addressed at the next PCBIC meeting. But it was very informative, I think it was a good step in the right direction. And that's all I've got, Manager.
Just want to remind you of the closed session we'll have following this meeting. We're going to head back upstairs to your boardroom for that. That's all I had.
All right, Mr. Jeffers?
Had a Person County Fire Chiefs Committee meeting, and of course, funding came up, and they would like us to stick to as closely as what we discussed in the retreat of if increasing their funding and could do a lot for them. And so they want us to make sure we keep that in mind as we continue our budget discussions. Also had an environmental committee meeting where the Person County Recycling Center came and spoke to us and gave us a very informative presentation. I think the environmental committee is going to try to maybe be a committee that makes some recommendations to us. In essence, one thing came up was at none of our parks do we're in the recycling business, but we don't have any recycling containers at any of our park locations and things like that. So we want to be looking at some stuff like that to see if we can bring to the board on getting done around the county. And also, our chairman of the environmental committee emailed us to let us know, I think there was a misprint in the paper about the meeting that's going to be held Wednesday. It was printed for Tuesday, but the environmental committee meeting discussion coal ash will be actually Wednesday at 6 p.m., not Tuesday. And so wanted to get that out there. And then just wanted to say thank you to our students for sticking with us. Sometimes these meetings aren't that exciting for young people to watch, but I want you to definitely know that your voices are heard. A few years ago, we had some students come and they spoke to us about the concern of Wi-Fi and how bad it was at the high school, and we were able that year to put money in the budget to upgrade your Wi-Fi there at the high school. And so don't think just because you don't vote that we don't hear you, because decisions that we make today not only affect you and the ones that are voting, but even the unborn. And we're, as mentioned earlier, we're going to be talking about landfill. That's a decision that was made back in 96, 97. I was 13, and so here we are now still dealing with that. And so just keep that in mind, stay abreast of current issues so you are knowledgeable on what's going on in your community.
Mr. Clayton?
I want to mention that I went to a graduation over at Hillsborough last week. It was sponsored by Orange Person Chatham Mental Health or Cardinal Innovations that operate that now. They're offering a course for specifically for law enforcement, but they also include EMS. Person County has not taken advantage of that, but Chatham County and Orange County and Alamance County have. But it's a good course, and I want to encourage the Sheriff's Department and the Police Department up here to get involved in that. It gives them a lot of insight on how to handle people that have mental problems when they're out there trying to make an arrest or do different things with them, how to handle this group of people. And that's a problem that you see it on TV every day, that some of the biggest problems that we've got out there are either domestic disputes or things, and a lot of times they involve people that are already in the mental health system. And it would really help our officers to understand maybe just something that they need to say when they're out there that would not trigger these people and not get people in that situation, keep them from going violent. I think it'd help us all the way around. So I like to see the Sheriff's Department, the Police Department take part in that program.
Mr. Perrier? Tracy?
I don't have anything. I'd like to see Mr. Phelps before he leaves today, though.
Okay. Certainly appreciate the students being here today. You do not need a special day to come. You are welcome anytime you want to show up, and you are certainly more than welcome to participate in the discussion we had at the beginning of the informal comments. So I need a motion to go into a closed session for I guess I got to read this. Closed session per General Statute 143-318 to consult with an attorney and to establish or to instruct the public body staff or negotiating agents concerning the positions to be taken by or on behalf of the public body in negotiating the price, either material terms or contract with the following individuals permitted: County Manager Heidi York, Clerk of the Board Brenda Reeves, Ron Aycock by telephone, Assistant Manager Sybil Tate, and Mike. Huh? Brenton. Okay. All right, this closed session will be held in room 215. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. We'd like to recess for 15 minutes. We'll re-adjourn in 15 minutes.